In this tutorial, I'm going to be going through the basic setup for creating a piano vocal score. I'm going to cover three main areas. The first area is setting up the score. The second is how to enter notes. And the third area will be making detailed adjustments once you've entered in your notes and melodies. So the very first thing is this will be the very first window that we'll see when we start up Sibelius. And so it's going to ask us to start a new score. In this case, we're going to make a piano vocal score. Down at the very bottom of this scroll will be solo instruments. Conversely, right here where the microscope is that you can just write in the word piano, and it'll take you right to the piano vocal score. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. And then there's an option called Change Instruments. We're going to want to click that because we're going to want to add in a vocal part to our piano score. So I'll click on Change Instruments, and as you can see here, you have a whole list of instruments that you can possibly choose from woodwind to brass to guitars, so forth. So in this case, I'm just going to pick singers, and you'll want to make a decision whether or not it's going to be for a male or female singer. And you can either just put in something like generic like voice, or if you know it's going to be a soprano or alto, so forth, you would select accordingly. So in this case, let's go ahead and let's presume it's for a male vocalist, and let's select tenor. I'm going to pick that and add to the score. And Sibelius is now going to add that in, and it'll appear, what it's telling me is that it'll appear above the piano score, piano part in the score. So I'll go ahead and click OK, and yes, that is indeed what I want. And then I'll just scroll down and look at anything else I want to change. So for example, if I want to have a different time signature, in this case, let's just leave it in 4/4. If we want to have it start with a pickup bar, you just simply pick this up. So if you knew that you wanted a pickup bar with a quarter note, you just simply check this box, and so on. The next is tempo, and so in this case, let's go ahead and click that, and that's going to put our metronome mark on, and we can enter in any speed. So let's say 85, and then if we know what key we're going to be in, we can enter that accordingly. And then lastly, we can enter in our title. So I'll just put in song title and composer name here, and then lyricist, so lyrics by J Nobody. Okay, and then once we're satisfied with all that, we'll just simply create, and Sibelius will launch our score. And so now what we can see is that indeed our entire score is set up. And so we have, now nicely, we have our metronome mark, we have where our composer name would be, and then our lyrics. And you can always make adjustments, later. So for example, if I decided I really wanted, to change this, I can just simply double click and put in, say, John Doe, etc. So very easy. Okay, so now what we can do is, let's say, looking at the score before we before we enter in any notes, we can adjust the layout to the score. So one thing that becomes pretty quick and apparent is that the staves are very condensed. What I can do is I can just select all by hitting Control and A, and then you'll see that Sibelius will turn purple, let me know that everything is highlighted. I can go in here under plugins, and I simply scroll down, and I'm going to select on a part that says a plugin that says Make Layout Uniform. So I'll go ahead and select this, and what it's going to now ask me is how many bars per system that I want. A system is one of these, basically like a paragraph, so to speak, in music. And so in this case, let's make it 4. And I like the way it's set up, that there seems to be good vertical spacing, so I'm only going to select 3 systems per page. I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And what this plugin is going to do is, see, now it's going to create even more space, which is going to allow me, like I say, room to be able to add in notes and lyrics and so forth. So now, already my score looks a little bit more properly set up. Now the thing with Sibelius, the way Sibelius works is that it's not so good at being able to just simply record on the fly, your recording. So for example, if I simply just select, say, one bar and I hit record and then I start playing on my keyboard, we're going to get a lot of junk. And you're going to get something that looks simply like this. And there's really, unfortunately, no workaround for that. Sibelius is just not designed to be able to simply record what you play on the fly and notate it out. So in actual fact, it'll probably take me just as long to go through and re-notate, figure out what this is. The other option is to be able to just go through step by step. So in this case, let's say I know that I want to start off with, say, a chord. And I can just simply select whatever, go to the beat on the bar, and then on the keypad you can just simply select what the duration is that you want. So now let's say I know that I wanted to go on to say, well, let's continue with that, and as you can see, then Sibelius is actually pretty good. So again, with the what you can do is just select the bar, just hit the note duration that you want, and then just simply enter in the chord, and then what we get is, like I say, we get our music accordingly. So let's just add in a couple of let's just add in rhythm. And maybe we'll add in, let's say, and here all I'm doing is just simply using my keyboard on the piano. And let's go ahead and let's take that. Okay, and then what we can do is the same idea, but with our vocals. So let's add in a vocal line now, and let's say they're going to play. Let's just give and do something like straight eighth notes. Okay, let's just say that's our melody. And as you can see, if it came out, say, an octave too high, not to fear, if you hit Control and the arrow down button, it simply will automatically just take it down an octave. So then in this case, let's go ahead and let's add in some text. And so if I click on a note, I can just go in under text, and right up here there will be you'll see a symbol that says lyrics. You will click on lyrics and click on lyrics line 1. The thing that's also really a good idea to do is to memorize the keyboard shortcut. So in this case, it is Control L, and then what I can do is just simply, right here is just simply hit the keyboard shortcut, and I'll see a flashing icon which will let me know that it's ready to enter the text. And so now I can just simply type in the text, or if you have like a Word document or something like that, you can copy and paste in your text into the Sibelius file, and it'll put one syllable per note. So I'm just going to enter in some text. I can, let me uncap my letters. I can see the day. So, and then what I can do is use a hyphen if I have more than one syllable. And now, and voila, I get my, maybe we'll make this even further. So now I have my text below what the lyrics is. And let's say we decide that we want to add in dynamics. Well, the same thing is, if you go up here under expression, you can just click on expression, and just once your mouse is highlighted, you just simply click press down on where you want to add in the dynamics, you just simply hold down the control key and then enter in whatever the dynamic is that you want to put in. And the same thing would apply up here. And again, if you memorize the keyboard shortcuts, it's going to go much quicker. And so it looks, Sibelius. So now we have our dynamics. If you want to add in any sort of articulation, basically the general way to do is you highlight. You just click on a note that you want to add the articulation to, or if it's a group of notes, you hold down the shift button on your keyboard and then you get a whole, like say whole group, and if you just with the, that'll then apply your articulations to, like I say, that whole group. If I undo that, let's make this staccato, okay, just for argument's sake, and let's make this legato. The same idea. You just simply highlight the whole area. In this case, I'm just gonna hit S, and voila, there's my slur. And Sibelius is good in that anything you can on the local level, you can just simply click and drag if you want to create space or anything like that. If you want to have, for example, you want to have your one thing that's not on the score right now, but you may want is just the name of the instruments to come up on the left-hand side. If you go into appearance, what you'll see is on the upper left-hand corner, there'll be an icon that says engraving rules. Click on that, and then there's a selection that says instruments, and right here, each of these these windows that say at start, subsequently, you can tell Sibelius to add in the instrument name. So in this case, we'll add in the full names, and then after the first system, we'll just have the short abbreviations for each instrument. So I'll select OK. So now, as you can see, we have the instrument names on the left-hand side, and at first, like I said, it just says the full name, and then we just have the abbreviation going forward. If you want to change the name, like for example, let's say it's a character, you just simply can double-click on tenor and replace this with, say, Sam. This can be useful, like I say, if you have characters in a musical or something like that. You can then, like I say, change it accordingly, or if you have more than one. If you decide that you need to add in more instruments, or say another vocalist later on, what you can do is just hit I on the keyboard, and you're going to again get your whole list of instruments, and just like we did before, you could just go in and add accordingly to where they want, what you want to add. And then up here on the right-hand corner, where you can tell Sibelius whether or not you do indeed, by default, Sibelius is going to place the highest instruments up on top and lower instruments below it. But for example, if you, for whatever reason, want to change that, you can just use the move up or down buttons, and as you can see, then the instruments will change accordingly. And I can undo that, and same thing, I can just go, I could have done, like I say, put it anywhere. And so that will get you started with the basics of creating a score in Sibelius. Oh, lastly, one detail I forgot to mention is if you need to check your MIDI input devices, if you go in under the menu item that says Note Input, on the far left-hand corner, you'll see an icon that says Input Devices. Simply select Input Devices, and that's going to show you what any sort of keyboard or MIDI guitar, whatever instrument Sibelius is to get your musical input from. So in this case, the thing that you need to check is make sure that this box is checked, because if it's not checked on, it's not going to, it means you've turned off the instrument. So if you click it on, as you can see, I think here on the test, you can see that there's a signal. If you click it off, there's nothing. So the other thing you can do is, of course, if it's not showing up, is just simply select Find New Input Devices, and Sibelius will be reading whatever MIDI connection is going into your computer. So if it doesn't show up in this window, means Sibelius isn't going to be reading it, and that there's some sort of connection problem that exists outside Sibelius. But having this box checked or unchecked is usually the most common problem. So that's how you can determine whether your input devices